And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Welcome to the Thursday QxStart Opportunity Meeting. Before we get started, I want to tell everybody after the webinar tonight, we've got some really good announcements, and I want to get John and Steve to help me with some of these announcements because we just got some. Guys, everything is just growing at such a fast rate right now that we're just very excited, and we're going to be wanting to share a lot of these things with everybody. And of course, Dane Kohler is moving very forward with a lot of this text messaging program, so we're going to discuss all that. But right now, let's go ahead and go through the opportunity meeting for anybody that has new people on, and by the numbers I can see we probably do have some new folks on tonight. So let me get started. Everybody, if you haven't noticed, in fact, I think it would be impossible for you to not notice, your privacy has been under attack. In fact, there are stories that are coming out every day that are actually showing this. And the headlines are almost scary when you think about it. You can't turn on a TV, you can't go on the internet, read a newspaper without seeing something like this. In fact, in a recent USA Today story, it talked about how the NSA and federal agencies are using technology to capture cell phone calls. Well, I don't think I'm telling anybody anything you don't know because this is just so public now what's happening. Well, real quickly, last year, and when I say last year, I'm just talking a few months ago, there was a movement by the Senate to actually introduce a bill, the USA Freedom Act, which was going to tone down what the NSA was doing as far as surveillance here in this country. Well, you know, that didn't last very long because real quickly that bill to overhaul the NSA actually died in the Senate. And I'm telling you, that is just really kind of set the pattern of what has been happening here. Then we started seeing stories about how government spy tools are being used to hack telecoms in other countries. I can tell you right now they're being used to hack telecoms here. As we start going further, we're seeing stories that, and I'm sure you remember this, that there are comments that the U.S. is really becoming a worse police state than Orwell could have imagined. And you need to only really kind of look at the stories that are happening out there right now to fully understand that. If everybody remembers the protesters that were part of the media, you couldn't turn on the TV without seeing protesters in different cities and everything. Well, Chicago cops were using a device called Stingray to intercept the protesters' conversation. In fact, if anybody on this call remembers the group called Anonymous, and they're becoming very, very visual right now on the web, they were, in fact, hacking into the Chicago Police Communication Department, and they were recording the communications of the police department as they were interfacing with police out there in the crowd with the protesters, and they were identifying different people that they wanted to listen in on their cell phone using the Stingray device. Well, they recorded all that, and they actually published it up there on a video on YouTube. And here's a story, came out December 6th, talking about it. And of course, these full stories are on our QxStartHelp.com site. Then there's actually a story that came out about this today. Illinois made it a felony for its citizens to record the police department. Do you realize there was a story in, I think it was CNN today, where a gentleman was recording a police officer in his car, and he had been sleeping there for about 3 hours, and he walked up and started asking the police officer about it, who was recording it. And the police officer real quickly wanted to let him know that it's now a felony if he's recording him. And of course the guy turned it off real quick. But that part actually made it out there on YouTube right now. Now here's what's really bothering, guys. Congress has passed a bill which grants unlimited access to communication of every American. If you look at the story that's on our site right now and you read down a little bit further, you're going to find out something very impressive. They're not only granting access, but they are storing and warehousing this data for up to 5 years. That's starting to get kind of scary because right now when you're talking on the phone, even like right now, this stuff's being recorded. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So now the ACLU is tracking all these different states and which local and state agencies are utilizing them to go ahead and start tracking your conversations. It's not just the federal government doing it anymore. It's not just the NSA. It's your local law enforcement that's actually tracking your information now and recording it. Here's another story that came out, and the NSA, and I want you to kind of look at the bottom part there where it says that that some forms of encryption are still causing problems for the NSA. Well, we all know that it's very important to use encryption if you're buying something online to protect your credit card data and everything else. And we all know that it's very important. But the NSA is trying to say if you're using some form of encryption, it's making it very difficult for us to go ahead and track what you're doing and record what you're doing. And I want you to understand something really key here. The NSA charter is to do stuff outside the United States, not on U.S. citizens. So this has been a complete change right now, what's been happening. Well, if you've heard about the FISA courts, because a lot of this stuff came as a result of the Patriot Act, the FISA courts, if they reject a surveillance request by the FBI has just learned about a workaround. They just issue what's called a national security letter to get exactly what they wanted in the first place. It's kind of scary. And the last thing is the FBI says it doesn't need warrants to track your cell phone. Folks, I want you to understand something a second here. This is not about trying to evade law enforcement or anything else, because we don't think the people that are using this are doing anything illegal. What we're trying to say is that this is overreaching by government, and if the government is in fact doing this stuff, private industry can also reach in. So if you're working on a program that might be very sensitive, there could be a competitive or competing type industry out there that might be trying to get what you're doing. Let's look at this a different way. Let's assume that you are a person that, and you might have a little bit of an alternative lifestyle or whatever. Guess what? If that stuff is now being recorded, who's going to use that in the future to basically leverage you? These are all things that are starting to happen right now, and you have to be very concerned about it. So the last thing I want to show you real quickly is, I've talked about Stingray in there. I want to talk about the device. Stingray device is something, it's a mobile unit, usually is in like an SUV. They're driving around, but what it does, it mimics a cell tower. So your phone connects to it, and not only are they able to listen and record your conversation, they're able to pull the data off your phone, talking about text messages, email, everything else, so you can start building a profile on you. Well, we've talked about the problem. I want to talk about the solution. The solution is Kryptos communication. We're very fortunate tonight because we have Stephen Carnes on the line right now. And Steve, because he's the developer and the owner of this technology right now, Steve is probably the best person equipped to talk about this. So Steve, if you would take a second and kind of share with us about Kryptos, I'll kind of keep flipping the screens here for you, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Robert. Yes, back in 2010, I actually developed the product. It was a brainstorm of mine to come out with a product that just anybody could afford. There were other encrypted phones that were hardware-based that were several $1,000s on the market. And I thought, why shouldn't we have something that everybody can afford? And that's what I set out to do with Kryptos. And over the course of the last 4 years, I've been happy to expand the market. We're in roughly about 130 countries now, although many of the countries that we are in, we may only have a few users, so which is the whole reason that we've partnered with QxStart. Now the technology, it's actually a voice over IP product, and many of you may realize that that term is actually VoIP, but what it is, it's an encrypted VoIP product. So what the program does, what the app does, is it digitizes the voice stream. And then after it digitizes the voice stream, which that means it's in data, we then encrypt that data before it leaves your handset. And we use 256 military-grade encryption. And what do we mean by military-grade encryption? Well, 256-bit AES encryption is the same thing that the military uses on all of their equipment, their radios and all that. Matter of fact, the NSA deems that this type of encryption can be used by anybody in government to have conversations up to top secret level, which is the top level, because they realize it's something that can't be broke into. And the the service actually works over 3G, 4G, LTE. It'll also work over Wi-Fi. Now, the different platforms that it works on, it will work on Android phones and Android tablets. It will work on all the iPhones, iPads. It will even work on an iPod Touch. Now, the really unique thing about our product is that you don't even have to have service with a cell phone carrier. And what I mean by that is if you have an old iPhone sitting around, like maybe it's an old 3G that you kept, but you upgraded to a 5 or a 6, as long as you have a connection to a Wi-Fi, you can put Kryptos on it and use it. So you don't even have to have a connection to the cellular networks. The other thing about the product is that we don't, as far as metadata goes, and the for those of you that know anything about metadata, that's, for instance, if I call, let's say I called Robert on my regular phone, well, it's going to show that my phone called his phone. Now on Kryptos, it doesn't show that way. There's no metadata that's kept. We keep no log files. There is no backdoor to our product. If somebody served a subpoena on us and said we need to know what user is talking to what user, the only thing I can say is even if I wanted to help you, I can't, because we don't keep that kind of information. So that's just a little brief overview of our product. And Robert, I appreciate you allowing me to speak this evening.
Well, Steve, don't leave us yet, because I've got a couple questions, because I've been fielding questions all day long. And let me kind of tell you some of the questions. One is, why is it that phone companies and hardware manufacturers have to build in a back door to their equipment and their service, but we don't? And secondly, why is it once we start really getting a momentum going that we feel that the government's not going to step in and go, oh, you're not going to be able to use Kryptos because we think it's conflicting with us?
Very, very good question. Now, the telecommunications industry, of which we are not a part of, the telecommunications industry is comprised of the hardware manufacturers, that would be the cell phone that you may have in your pocket or on your desk or in your hand, the switching equipment, the towers, all the different devices, the networking devices, as well as the carriers themselves, AT&T, Sprint, Verizon. All of those are governed by CALEA. That's a law. It's the Communications Assistance Act for law enforcement. And under CALEA, anybody that's in the telecommunications industry has to provide a backdoor. And I'll go one step further than that. Anything that is considered a substantial replacement for a telecommunications device or carrier has to provide a backdoor. Why is that significant? Well, Skype is considered to be a substantial replacement. And how do they determine that? If you can call a landline, it's considered to be a substantial replacement. That's key. Skype will allow you to call from your account a landline. So you could call Pizza Hut and order a pizza. You could call, anybody that has a landline. Now, Kryptos is nothing than a third-party application that sits on smartphones and tablets. And we cannot connect to a landline. We do not use phone numbers. Matter of fact, we go so far as to not even use your contact list. We create a contact list within Kryptos itself. We don't, this is a privacy application. You probably have a number of apps on your smartphone or your tablet that will ask you for access to your contacts or ask you for something like else on your phone. We don't need any of that. The only thing that it does need is access to your microphone. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw this out there. If you are new to this product and you're installing it for the first time, when it asks you to have access to your microphone, a little pop-up, a lot of people sometimes quickly dismiss any little pop-ups that come up. Read the pop-up, because if it says, we need access to your microphone, that's the only way that the application is actually going to be able to work and hear when you're talking. So, with us being a third-party application, we're not a substantial replacement to a telecommunications device or the industry itself, so that's why we are not governed. Now, the question you're saying, how are we not going to, at some point in time, have some legislation passed that's, going to cripple our product? Well, the U.S. government actually encourages the encryption of data, because without the encryption of data, credit card fraud, which already happens, would be rampant. Banking records need to be encrypted. So data needs to be encrypted. This is nothing more than data that's being transferred. So it just, unless they did away with encryption across the board, that'd be the only way to get rid of us. Well, guess what? They're not about to do that. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If you need me to expand on anything, I'd be happy to do so.
No, I think that really does cover it. I appreciate it, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and get on to the next screen here real quick. And I want to quickly, thank you. So I want to go ahead and tell everybody we've got a support page up over at QxStart Help. And over there, we've got brochures and news stories and PowerPoint files and everything else. But under that brochure, that is a really good tool. We were talking with a gentleman down in South Florida today, and he was looking for some collateral material. We said, you know what, if you go to that brochure area and you download, it's a PDF that you can actually type in your information and you can use it as a handout. Now, we're also going to be having some additional things coming on this. One's going to be graphics, approved corporate graphics if you're wanting to create some stuff yourself. We're also going to be putting a thing there for business cards. People need the business cards. We've got a place we're going to be talking with that you can sit there and order this and get it in about 7 days if you want to do that. Or you can take the graphics and create your own and, at your local printer and everything. But all that stuff is right there for your support and help you get going. But let me kind of real quickly talk about, why a lot of people are here, because we know the product works. We know what the value is here and everything else. But, how do you translate this into dollars in your pocket? So let me kind of real quickly focus on that. Cryptos has when you purchase a Cryptos code, it's $10, and that's been the same price that it's been for the last 4 to 5 years. It's been $10 for a 30-day window for one code. Well, we sell that in 3 packs, 6 packs, and 10 packs. Kind of think of it like a cellular system family plan. Well, when you're purchasing those codes, you're not going to be obviously using all those codes yourself. You're going to have someone that you're going to want to communicate with, that you're going to maybe set up an account or two, and you're going to put the codes on it so you can say, hey, download the app. That way I can talk to you real quick, because some things I'm saying right now, I really just don't want anybody here. I'd kind of like to make sure it's between you and I, because you just never know these days who's listening in and how it's going to be misconstrued. So we have these different programs, bronze, silver, and gold. Well, if you go ahead and you kind of focus on the gold here for right now, this is a way that you can actually earn a part-time or a full-time income. But, I'd like to really tell people it's a way to earn a full-time income with part-time activity. So let me kind of jump one more quick here, because I want to tell you that everybody really starts for free. But what happens here is we have, it's called a 2x3 matrix, 2x3 force matrix, but we have 6 levels. Now you're going to see 7 here because level A is really kind of saying that, when you first get in the game and you have one person sponsored, that's where you can actually earn some money. And so as you can see, each one of those levels has, or each one of those categories has like 3 levels. So I'm going to kind of bring over here for a second, and I'm going to go through this real fast, and I'm going to focus in on the gold level rate right there. Because if you're in this, you're here to make some money. So now, if I have sponsored 2 people, just 2 people, I'm at level B, and if they're gold, and I go across on line 6 right there, I could be earning up to $504 a month just in my matrix pay. That's really not bad just to get 2 people involved that are at the gold level and tell them to do the same. But what if I go ahead and I go to 6? And 6 is kind of a key benchmark right now, because 6 people allows you to get your gold 10-pack for free each month. Now, what we're doing is we're actually giving you the $100 in a bonus, being charged in your card, so it's really kind of an offsetting cost there right there. But looking at level D, you can actually be earning up to $32,000 a month. Now, I don't think there's anybody on this call right now that is making $32,000 a month in the regular job. But because the way this is growing right now, if you can get 6 people, and I can tell you right now there's several people on the call right now that have already gotten more than 6 people. I see the reports. I know it's happening. They're in line to start making that kind of money here in the next few months. Well, is there a way to make more money? And I'm always asked that question. I always think, okay, I guess it's not enough for you. Well, if you go ahead and in your first 30 days, when you join, you get a total of 10 people in your first 30 days, you can actually increase that $4 rate to $5. And if you do that a second time in your second 30 days, that $4 rate can actually turn into $6. If you take it across on that same line 12, that means that 32,000 can actually be about 49,000 if everything works out. And please understand, this is a force matrix. Sometimes these things look like Swiss cheese because you have different holes in it and things like that. But what if it was even 10% of that? I mean, my goodness, that's great money. So now I want to talk about a couple of things real quick too. We have been, for a while now, been doing a temporary promotional bonus called $50 whenever you sign up a brand new person. That first time they purchase that gold pack at the sign-up time for $100, you get an instant $50. And there's a lot of people on this call that have been really doing very well with that. Well, we have now made a decision that that is going to be permanent. That is not going to go away. That is going to be a normal commission pay. So we are working real closely with our software provider to get all that done, and hopefully by this week we will have that in there. And the reason we want to have it in there as a permanent deal is because we've been manually calculating that, and it doesn't show up in your back end. And so a lot of people have said, hey, my back end shows I'm supposed to get $300, but I just got $1,000. What just happened? And we say, well, here's what. We're having to manually calculate that and add it to it. But once we have all the programming done, you're actually going to see it in the back end. So that's kind of a good thing right there. The other thing that we want to talk about too, and make sure everybody realizes, is we've been paying out every week on PayPal. And as good as that is, we know that we're now starting to hit our stride where we'll have people that are now earning $10,000, $20,000, and $30,000 a month and up. Well, you may not realize it, but PayPal charges 2.5% for you to get your money out. So we are switching to a new way to pay. Hopefully by February 1st, we'll have that all in place, and it's called ProPay. ProPay is going to send you out a MasterCard debit card, but they're also going to allow you that if you've got, say, $30,000 in there, which is great, and you want to go ahead and have it transferred to your bank account, it's going to cost you 30 cents. If that was in PayPal, that would be $750 that PayPal would charge you. So we're really doing this because we want to make sure that the money that you earn stays in your pocket. We think that's very, very important right now. The other thing that's happening right now I want to kind of announce is, Steve, if you're still on, would you like to tell everybody about what's happening with American Airlines right now?
Yes. We've actually taken the step. We are in the midst of producing a 2-minute, I'll call it an infomercial, really. And starting in April, from April, May, June, and July, we are going to be, and when I say we, that's QxStart and Cryptos, we're going to be featured on every single American Airlines flight. That's over 6,000 flights that go through American Airlines. So we're going to have some pretty good coverage and have a dedicated audience that really is not going to have anywhere to go other than to watch our infomercial. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. In fact, the infomercial is going to be a call to action. So as the people are watching that, they can be writing down or jotting down the address. And when they go to the address, they're going to be going through a portal where we're going to be able to capture them and then basically rotate it out to the people. Now, it's not going to cost you anything. And I want you to understand from a regulatory standpoint, we can't charge you anything for it. So it's totally free for you. And so, but we can't sign them up. They have to be signing up under, one of the people that are in the company. So this is actually going to be a real windfall. It's going to supercharge the force matrix in a very neat way. And we're just real excited to see that going. So when we have that commercial produced, even though it won't come out till April, Steve, I would assume we're going to have that listed somewhere so people can actually watch it, correct?
Correct. As soon as it's done, which will be the very early part of February, it'll be available. Matter of fact, we are actually given permission by American Airlines to not only use it early, but to continue to use it through the duration and after, as well as put the wording as seen on American Airlines and use their logo in any of our advertising and publications and website.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be huge right there. That is literally going to be huge. So these are the things we have happening right now, and this is part of the reason we are just so excited. We've also just put out a new PowerPoint that we're finishing up that kind of drills down and does a great explanation on understanding the 2x3 force matrix and how it works and the whole comp plan. We're going to be loading that up on the website tomorrow for everybody, so if you want it, you can download it. And other than that, we're just kind of moving along real fast, and we're just very excited with the teams that are out there. They're just doing some great stuff. We have an email that's going out tomorrow for Dane. He's been organizing the teams, doing the texting, getting the team captions together, and that has just been working out very well also too. So John, I know you're on here. Go ahead.
Robert?
Yes.
Robert, the other thing I wanted to just throw out there, for those of you that were on the call earlier in the week that were fortunate enough to see the lead generation and management program system that was featured by Matt DeMeo, we are moving forward with that at full speed. I just thought we would want to throw that out there as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's going to take a few weeks to get on, but right now what we're doing is we're building that foundation. We're giving you some more tools. We see the effort that everyone's putting out right now, and we want to give you as many things on your tool belt to get you as accessible as possible. John Froming, our CEO, you're on here right now. John, do you have a few words you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Robert, and thank you, Steve. You guys did a great job, and thank you guys for being on this call. This is such an amazing opportunity, and thinking about it, Kryptos is an amazing product and an amazing time that we are just this perfect timing. I mean, I'm not smart enough to think of Kryptos myself, but thank God that we have the ability to actually distribute it and be a part of it and actually make money on this and spread the word of encryption, because encryption is going to be so big in 2015 and for the future. So thank you guys for being on the call. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Steve. This is such an amazing opportunity for everybody.
All right, and I just want to say that we've broken all our records. We have quite a few people on right now, so that's really great that everybody's getting their team people on right now. So again, we want to thank everybody for joining us, and be sure to check the QxStart help for any announcements. And there'll be a message going out tomorrow on a webinar that Dane Kohler's doing for the texting and helping people with that too. So thanks again, guys.